You've seen them lined up on store shelves everywhere, those shiny bottles labeled high mileage oil, quietly promising to rescue aging engines, stop leaks, reduce oil burning, and make an old car feel young again. The message is comforting, almost reassuring, especially if your vehicle has crossed that intimidating 6-digit mileage mark. But behind the marketing and bold claims lies a reality most drivers never hear. In a real-world evaluation, you've seen them lined up on store shelves everywhere, those shiny bottles labeled high mileage oil, quietly promising to rescue aging engines, stop leaks, reduce oil burning, and make an old car feel young again. The message is comforting, almost reassuring, especially if your vehicle has crossed that intimidating 6-digit mileage mark. But behind the marketing and bold claims lies a reality most drivers never hear. In a real-world evaluation involving dozens of engines with varying levels of wear, many high-mileage oils actually caused increased internal stress when used incorrectly, leading to higher operating temperatures, inconsistent lubrication, and in some cases even premature seal failure. The very oil meant to protect older engines can, under the wrong conditions, quietly shorten their lifespan. The real question, then, isn't whether high-mileage oil is good or bad, but whether it's right for your specific engine. Understanding that difference is critical because most drivers don't realize what's actually inside these bottles or how those ingredients behave once they circulate through an aging engine. At its core, high-mileage oil is not a miracle formula, but a modified version of standard synthetic oil with 3 key changes. The first is the inclusion of seal conditioning chemicals designed to soften and slightly swell rubber seals that have hardened over time. The second is the use of thicker base oil formulations, often moving from lighter viscosities like 5W30 to heavier blends such as 10W30, 10W40, or 5W40. The third change is a more aggressive detergent package intended to clean internal sludge and deposits that tend to accumulate in engines with long service histories. On paper, this sounds like a perfect solution for older vehicles. But engines are not one-size-fits-all systems, and these changes can backfire depending on climate, maintenance history, and mechanical condition. Seal conditioners are often marketed as leak stoppers, and in some situations they do exactly that. When rubber seals around valve covers, crankshafts, or oil pans dry out and shrink, they allow small seepages that slowly lower oil levels. Conditioning agents can restore some elasticity, temporarily sealing those gaps. However, if an engine's seals are still healthy, those same chemicals can over-soften the rubber, reducing structural strength and accelerating long-term degradation. Independent laboratory testing has shown that prolonged exposure to heavy seal conditioning blends can reduce tensile strength in certain seal materials by more than 10% in just a few thousand miles. That's why experienced mechanics often warn that if an engine isn't leaking, it's best not to introduce chemicals designed to alter seal behavior. In those cases, high-mileage oil doesn't prevent future problems, it creates them. The second major difference, viscosity, is where many drivers unknowingly make costly mistakes. Thicker oil does increase film strength, which can be beneficial in engines with loose tolerances or worn bearings, but modern engines, even older ones, are engineered around specific oil flow rates. During cold starts, when most engine wear occurs, oil must move quickly through narrow passages to protect camshafts, bearings, and timing components. Heavier oils flow more slowly, delaying lubrication at precisely the moment it's needed most. Tests comparing high-mileage oils to standard synthetics of manufacturer-recommended viscosity showed that while oil pressure readings were slightly higher with thicker blends, bearing temperatures and startup friction were also increased. More pressure does not equal better protection, just as higher blood pressure doesn't mean better health. It often signals added stress. Detergents are the third defining feature. And while cleanliness is important, aggressive cleaning can become dangerous in older engines. Years of accumulated sludge often act as a fragile but stable layer inside oil galleries and around seals. When strong detergents suddenly dissolve that buildup, loosened debris can circulate through the system, clogging oil pickup screens or restricting narrow passages that feed critical components. This is why many veteran technicians caution against shock cleaning an engine that has survived for years on consistent oil changes. Gradual cleanliness achieved through regular maintenance is far safer than chemical overcorrection. To understand how these factors play out in the real world, a long-term comparison test was conducted using a wide range of high-mileage engines, all run for identical distances under controlled conditions. Initially, engines running high-mileage oil showed encouraging signs: reduced oil consumption, smoother idle characteristics, and fewer visible leaks. But as mileage accumulated, trends began to reverse. Oil analysis revealed increased wear metals, particularly during cold starts, along with inconsistent lubrication behavior. In short, high-mileage oil acted like a temporary bandage rather than a solution. It masked symptoms without slowing the underlying mechanical wear. So why then, if the evidence is mixed, do so many drivers continue to buy high-mileage oil? The answer lies in psychology as much as engineering. High-mileage oil sells reassurance. The label promises protection, longevity, and peace of mind. Advertising leans heavily on fear and nostalgia, showing cracked seals, tired engines, and dramatic before and after visuals that imply salvation in a bottle. But oil cannot reverse mechanical wear, restore piston rings, or heal damaged gaskets. Those are physical problems that require mechanical solutions. Switching oils because a car is old is reasonable. Switching oils because a car has mechanical issues is often just treating symptoms rather than addressing the cause. Experienced lubrication specialists and master technicians consistently echo this reality. High-mileage oils are specialized tools, not universal upgrades. They're designed for engines with measurable oil loss or minor seepage, not as preventative maintenance for healthy engines. Many shops report that oil leaks often appear shortly after unnecessary switches to high-mileage blends, not because the oil caused damage directly, but because it altered seal chemistry that never needed intervention in the first place. Knowing whether your engine actually needs high-mileage oil requires honesty about its condition. If an engine has surpassed the 100,000-mile mark and shows light oil seepage or gradual oil loss between changes, a high-mileage formulation may reduce that loss temporarily. But if the engine is clean, runs smoothly, shows no smoke, and maintains oil levels normally, introducing heavier oil in seal conditioners offers no advantage. In colder climates, it can actually accelerate wear. In those cases, sticking with a high-quality, full synthetic oil in the manufacturer-recommended viscosity remains the safest and most effective choice.
While high-mileage oil often feels like a universal solution, its usefulness is actually limited to a narrow range of engine conditions, and understanding those boundaries is what separates smart maintenance from expensive mistakes. When used correctly, high-mileage oil can offer genuine benefits, but only for engines that show specific, measurable signs of age. Engines with minor oil seepage or slow consumption, such as losing a small amount of oil every couple thousand miles, are the ideal candidates. In these cases, seal conditioning agents can reduce oil loss by restoring flexibility to hardened rubber components, sometimes cutting consumption by noticeable margins. However, these benefits apply strictly to rubber-based seals and gaskets. They do nothing for metal-on-metal wear, worn piston rings, or scored cylinder walls. Once those mechanical failures exist, no oil formula can reverse them, and believing otherwise only delays necessary repairs. High-mileage oil should be viewed as a temporary support for aging components, not a rejuvenating treatment. Another scenario where high-mileage oil can help is in engines that have developed minor noise, slight compression loss, or lifter tick after years of service. As oil films thin with age, internal friction increases, often leading to audible signs of wear. Many high-mileage formulations include friction modifiers, such as molybdenum compounds or zinc-based anti-wear agents, which can reduce surface friction and quiet operation under load. Controlled testing has shown measurable reductions in friction loss when these additives are present, particularly during high-temperature operation. Yet this improvement exists only while the oil is in use. Once drained, the protective effect disappears, underscoring the reality that these oils do not repair wear, but merely soften its symptoms. Climate also plays a critical role in determining whether high-mileage oil is beneficial or harmful. In consistently warm environments, where cold starts are rare and operating temperatures remain high, slightly thicker oil can maintain a more stable lubricating film under heat stress. For older engines operating in hot regions, stepping up to a heavier high-mileage blend can sometimes provide better thermal stability and reduced oil thinning during